Artists are a curious breed of human. They can be hard for the general public to understand. One reason may be that they love to not eat and drink coffee until their breath smells like fermented olives blended into rotting oat milk, and another reason may be the common desire amongst artists to separate themselves from people and live in a sort of isolation. This is why I've decided to put these videos together for you. Not only were the artists in this program, Edna and Vincent Millay, Giorgio de Chirico, and Marsden Hartley, self-isolating, they were also facing what at the time felt like the potential end of the world, World War II. Every generation has had a threat they believed could end humanity. The Industrial Revolution, World Wars I and II, the Cold War, and the impending collapse of the world's ecosystems. Unfortunately for us now, all of these threats have built up onto each other, and we truly do face the end of humanity and the ecosystem within the coming decades if we do nothing to stop it. The common cry of, "What about our grandchildren?" is very optimistic. "What about us?" is much more apt. I put together this series of interviews to get a sense of what it was like being an artist facing apocalypse in the 40s. I found these archived filmed artist interviews while doing research on lube in World War II for the Washington Post in the 70s. In these times of uncertain truths and misinformation, I want to assure my viewers that these interviews are of the most factual, truthfully intellectual, unadulterated, and non-anachronistic videos I could find in the Yale archives. We can no longer trust the sources of information we've relied on for so long, nor the people in positions of power, because of the corrosion of dignity and the industrious power of capitalism. I wanted to provide you with a true bit of history and information. These interviews were edited to dispel falsehoods as a sword piercing the chest of fake information. These were also made for the artists and as examples for other journalists to follow. As a journalist myself with the highest integrity, it is my job to honor each subject's legacy and never do the most horrible act of putting one's own words in another's mouth, especially when the sands of time have created a barrier for the deceased to right a wrong. It is a sign of the times that we see an ugly truth and choose to ignore it, claiming no agency, and yet we only believe and act on the lies told to us beautifully. So here these interviews are for you. Veritas et Utilitas.
According to Law 6969 in the Big Book of Corporate Power, nothing we can say as Saltine Incorporated can be viewed as truth or lies, and nothing in the following presentation can be viewed as reality or unreality, and any interpretation in either manner can and will result in federal lawsuits.
Well, the hard thing about war is, it's just so darn dirty. Work. What an interesting word. What does work even mean nowadays? I don't know. One part of me says, yes, the pen is calling you. Get on the pad. Thump away with your thumb. And the other part of me says, what's the point? I've thrown a couple poems together, things just shitting out of my ass. You know, for me, World War II has been like dairy. It's a diarrhea. Things are coming out, but who knows how good they are. I mean, I did this one poem about the full moon, and it was supposed to be a symbol of Mussolini's orgasm, him jerking off in Italy to the deaths of thousands of his civilians. And as he reaches orgasm, we reached full moon, and no one came, and tide stayed low. It's worthless. And the other poem I did was about, I got inspired while I was squatting over my mirror, checking my pubic hair, deciding if I was going to spend the money getting a cut. I just saw this ingrown hair and thought, if that isn't the United States.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to continue to make work. It's just such a scary time. I mean, I have all these canvases staring at me like blank faces, asking me the same questions, will you paint me? Will you paint me? Will it happen? And it's such a crazy time. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. I try every day. Every day I get up to go to my paints. I make cup of tea. I ask the tea, should I paint today? And then I look at the paints and they say to me, paints, I think, paints, paints. And then I don't end up painting, so I guess you have to ask me tomorrow.
Of course, I've been making work. I'm a painter. I've been working as hard as I can. I mean, what do I have? 10 more years before the sun blows up in our faces. Of course, I'm out of the... What can you make in the city, in that cesspool? I mean, listen, if they're gonna bomb anywhere, they're not bombing rural Maine. I can hear my blood ticking down. Each pump is saying, enjoy it, enjoy it. What have I made? Well, as I've gotten older, my bullshit level has dropped considerably. I've been jerking off a lot to the wrestlers in town, so I'm just going for it. I say balls to the walls for my last 10 years, am I right?
Interesting question. Socializing, socializing, socializing. I have to say no. I have to say I don't think I ever did. My paintbrush George, he's my best friend. George is getting married in 3 years. Long engagement. Him and Patricia don't want to rush anything. She's my stable brush.
I was in Greenwich Village in the 20s, darling. I'm not frightened. The only thing I'm frightened about is my publishers. What are they going to do? Darling, has my work been selling? For a lot of people, I'm like an antibiotic. I'm just necessary to survive. So yes, my work has been selling, but not as much as I'd like. No, I'm not socializing. I need to be away from myself right now and to protect my work. I'm so stressed, I have nothing to give. If I give social time to my friends, then what do I have to give to the page, you know? If I'm helping Eleanor Roosevelt get over her body issues over a cup of herbal tea, how am I supposed to write the next great American poem? If I'm helping Jimmy Stewart, method act, Stanislavy, trying to get over his childhood trauma over never being allowed sugar until 10 p.m., how am I supposed to sit down myself? My fingers are too tired working through his own forested bullshit.
There's 10 people in town. Restraining orders from at least 8 of them. 8 of the guys. The one girl and I have tea on the new moon. I don't find I do well with people. Friends. Well, the ones I've been writing to have been enjoying the work I've been doing. I've been sending them the cartoons. Charles DeMuth sent me back an empty page and a letter, just with his splooge stain.
That's an interesting question. Sometimes when my sister comes to bring food, she tells me stories.
Really?
She tells me stories in the streets. Italians killing, Germans killing, Americans killing, British killing. I hope my neighbors don't die. I love my neighbor girls. They make me laugh. They make me laugh so much. They like to kill animals in the street and leave the corpses for the police to find. They're starting this whole strange story about a serial killer in town, but they are killing the animals. Oh my God. I watch them climb up a tree and watch the police, and they giggle and laugh. Oh my God. I like to paint. I like to paint a couple more pictures before I die. Oh, I'm growing the most beautiful artichokes in the garden, and I need a reason to paint them.
I have some work that I will not let anyone see. That is literal balls, cartoons, sketches. I jerk off to them before I go to bed. The work I'll show people some really buff gentlemen that have threatened to murder me. That one on the beach in the pink underwear, he said, "Hey, old queen, if you take one more look at me like that, I'm going to rip the tongue right out of your mouth." And then I said, "Well, what if I put it in my butt after?" And he said, "Well, then I'll rip your butt inside out." And I said, "Great, I'm into rosebudding." Frightened isn't the word. Pissed off, angry, that the clock is ticking is maybe more the word. I'm not afraid of death. I'm really not afraid of death itself or physical pain. I've been beaten up once a year since I was 12 by all the straight men I've provoked, sexually. I was put into a half Nelson on my 18th birthday by my fat uncle. One time my grandfather took me by the foreskin, swung me around the yard, and I landed on a lobster claw.
Hope for the future. That's a hard one. I'd say if I can get this next book out by April, maybe Hitler. I'm gonna send Hitler a copy. We might see a shortcut to this war, and then I would have hope. But if not, Mussolini sent me back a cartoon of his own asshole shitting on me and said, "Thanks for the words, but try again later." A lot of the gay German officers have been writing to me, asking me for little snippets to get through the day, which I have done. I've done it, because they're so beautiful, I can't deny that. I have hope for the page. If the world blows up and we're all cockroaches, I still think we'll write on some leaves. I'll make a collection of leaf poems for you.
Oh, for the future, I think I will live longer than most people. Oh, and the neighbor girls. They were so funny. They were selling mud pies to the people at the market as real pies. And put a couple knives in them.
Hope for the future. Well, last night my angina spoke to me as clearly as Zarathustra did to Nisha. And what it said was, "You're gonna die." So I don't know if I have a future. Well,